In a world where space and time are intertwined, one man dared to challenge the status quo. His name? Dayton Miller. His weapon of choice? A flute. But not just any flute. This instrument held the power to unleash the ether, a pervasive medium once thought to fill the universe. Miller, a physicist by trade, a musician at heart, discovered a harmonic resonance within the ether. He found that his flute, when played with precision, could manipulate this elusive medium. His melodies, a symphony of science, had the potential to shift the very fabric of reality. However, a sinister force lurked in the shadows. The Einsteinian demons. These creatures thrived in the distortion of space-time, causing chaos and
All right, everyone. Hello and welcome to the Flat Earth Community Twitter space. We're going to join the lads on Twitter and see what they're up to.
This angle from that spot right there is so like, let's make it easy for me. Let's say the elevation angle is 80 degrees. I get a star and I've got an elevation angle of 80 degrees. And so then I know that from this point on a map where it's zenith to, that I'm 10 nautical miles from the point where that star is zenith to, right? And I can take that with my compass and make a circle around that, where that star's at. I'm somewhere on that circle. If I do that with two more stars, I make two more circles, and where all three circles intersect, that's where I'm at. So that's kind of how that's really all they do right there.
Okay, but you can't do that with the sun or the moon?
Well, yeah, they actually use the sun and the moon in celestial navigation. They can use it for time, I believe, something like that. You get your azimuth and your angle. You know where they're at a given time. You can pretty much do it with any celestial body. There's Alan.
Hola, amigo.
We were just talking about that wonderful presentation that that Astronomy Live gave.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, what was the tracker thing he said he was using?
The tracker thing.
With the laser beam, with the laser or whatever it is?
I have no idea.
The ray tracing.
Ray tracing.
Oh, the ray tracing. Got you. Yeah. Yes, sir. Actually, I have a write-up for it. I'm going to go over it on Monday for the Cell Theo update. But if you guys want an early peek of it, I'll send it your way. So
You can always send me anything. I want it all. I just, the part I didn't get, I mean, because at first when he said he's using planes and balloons, I thought, well, that's a novel approach maybe. But then I'm trying to figure out those planes and balloons are not affixed to the Earth, and therefore they're not going to show you the geometry of the Earth.
Well, the assertion would be that they have transponders on them that are giving their location or whatever, but they're self-referencing where they should be on the globe. And we actually, and so it's like, giving an elevation difference. So for the planes specifically, if you're familiar with Man Stone's, what he proposed for an experiment, so excuse me 1 second, I gotta clear my throat. Okay, sorry about that. So if you're familiar with what Man Stone proposed to Shiva for an experiment, he actually already did the experiment and had the data sent into him by a pilot and whatnot. But basically, when they come in for their ascent angle to land, There's a specific elevation difference between flat Earth and globe. If you're on a globe, there's going to be drop over distance between you and where you're landing, and therefore the elevation is going to be higher. If the Earth's just flat underneath you, there's going to be no elevation drop over distance between you and that radar. So your elevation is going to be uh, lower than what's expected. And so when they come in for their angle and they're lined up with, another part of this radar system too, and why it's so good for the landing stuff, is that it uses two intersecting beams, similar to how Battle of the Beams worked. And so with these intersecting beams, they can tell where the plane's at in 3D space when it's within that grid, because it's literally making, overlapping patterns of where it's at, and then based on how long it takes for that signal to get back, the timing difference tells you where it's at in 3D space. So in any case, they have that, and then they have their elevation and barometer. So when they're flying in, their glide scope thing is aligned, perfectly to being level, uh, with respect to their radar system. And so we know the exact elevation and uh, location in 3D space, and none of the elevations correspond to what the globe predicts. And so when we look at Astronomy Live's data, you know how I've always said that if the Earth were a globe, the geometric intersection differences between us would be different. And then, like for the example for Pikes Peak, I show how flat Earth would be off by the drop over distance instead of globe being off by the drop over distance. Well, in the data from the planes, the globe is much closer to those to the intersection difference, and we're off by like the drop over distance. Now, what's the difference between a mountain peak and a plane? The plane's using a transponder. It's using GPS information to tell it where it should be on the globe. So the elevation difference is made up in whatever goes on with that within the coordinate system for it to be, self-consistent. So its elevation isn't actually, where it says it is. It's where it should be on the globe. And because it's giving out coordinates that are corrected for that, so that it's on the correct location for the globe, uh, the elevation reported that you're going to use is going to be closer to what the globe actually predicts. And so with the difference between the actual ascent angles where they can't fake it, and we know the data, versus when a plane's, flying out at uh 5 to 15, 16 degrees at 70 to 60 to 40,000 kilometers away, at an altitude of between, I think it was like like 9 and 13,000 or 9, 15,000, something like that is the range of data there. But those are the only time the data has ever shown what the globe would actually predict, is when there's a device on the thing doing the occluding, sending back the globe elevation of where it should be. So I thought that was really interesting to show. So we're definitely going to go over that. But your question specifically, I think, was about the ray tracing. Well, we got a little sidetracked on the balloon and stuff, because like it's conceptually the same, um, but not having the independent reference of the mountain. Like the mountain can't be like, yo, I'm actually at this elevation, right? It's either at one elevation or the other, and we all agree on the elevation and the distance to it. Now, another thing with the airplanes, when I was looking at the occlusion videos, like conceptually, yeah, something flying in front of another object and blocking it is essentially an occlusion. Like I agree. But in regards to using it as an independent reference to determine an elevation and all of that, for the occlusion and when it should occur, using planes isn't a proper use either. Just by virtue of like when you watch the videos of it, the plane at night is like a ball of light. Like you don't know its actual where it's gonna like actually intersect with the star at dimension wise. You're watching this ball of light fly across the screen at 200 meters a second ground speed, essentially. So like, there's a lot of ambiguity in there in the timing in which it should be. And then if you add, you're relying on the transponder, assuming that it's not correcting for a globe and it's just sending you its raw elevation. You're relying on the transponder to give you that information of where it's at with timing intervals in it. And I've asked him about the transponder information. He hasn't answered yet, so I'm just waiting for that. But obviously we can just look into it ourselves, but I'm trying to see if he'll cooperate a little bit. But anyway, any delays in that, right, is going to create an error in the measurement. We're dealing with 1 second timing intervals that deal with like a 200-meter uh, distance traverse, in terms of like how far the star moved just on its own with respect to the Earth being stationary. And then you have a plane flying into it at a, like, it's just, there's a lot of room for error in that, and we can't agree on where the plane's at in 3D space. So it is an interesting concept, but it ends up being self-referential with that transponder issue. There's no independent way to have the plane's elevation.
So the GPS is basically going to give you, it's going to put you in automatically. It's going to put you in globe mode. So everything's just referencing globe and coming out globe, right?
It's going to tell you, it's going to give the exact outputs it needs to make it self-compatible with the globe. And then all planes are like, using that same, internal system. So they're all flying at this, quote unquote globe elevation differences with respect to one another. But in reality, they're just flying over a level plane. Like, it's so fascinating that because like at those angles, there's less refraction, so he's basically using the true position of the star essentially to make the intersection. And it's showing, the same way that we've been saying, hey, this is what it would look like if the globe were a globe. But it only works when there's a transponder, correcting the elevation.
So, Mr. Xavier.
Oh, I was going to put my hand down. Actually, he answered the question because that was going to be my question. All the time they're talking about corrections that the GPS are doing, and we know there's classic explanations for that. I thought the reason that the mountain was less biased from either model is because we all agree on the altitude, the height of the mountain, and since we're accounting for refraction and we're trying to compare that to the nautical almanac, I thought that was going to be the better option. So I'm not sure about the new hot air balloon method. I got to catch up, but what's their steel man as best as you can to shift it towards apparent positions rather than physical occultation.
Well, you've been referencing the physicality of it, the flat earth angle gets recovered every time, so they don't want to address that at all because that implies geometrically flat. They ignored their geometric intersection because they missed it entirely, and reality shows that the star traverses the full arc length plus or minus a little bit. Uh, and so they need that actual timing difference that's created by the fact that there's no drop over distance intersections. Uh, so they ignore that entirely, and then they just want to focus on the apparent and say, well, that's what the globe predicts, but really they're just using a timing corrected angle to say that the optical angle of what is perceived is more important than the geometry of the globe that they say is what produces their optical angle. So a steel man of it really for most of them would be, I don't really know what's happening, but globe. And then for the ones that do know what's happening, they're like, well, we're going to make a geometric correction as refraction and say that it's just refraction and that's globe. Now, what was brought up earlier about the ray tracing is extremely important because the way that it was presented, it was like, I just have these raw values that I got from a weather balloon and I input them into this ray tracer, and wouldn't you know it, out came the globe. Out came exactly what the globe predicts, yada yada. And my initial response was that, well, what air density values are you using? Because they've been using the same values for computational modeling derived from watching positions of the stars of circumpolar stars, you know. And he didn't answer or anything like that, and yada yada. Long story short, when I finally got to go to review the source code of it, and this is why I suspect that none of this was like presented ahead of time or like, hey, I'm going to do this new thing, because it would have been critiqued and shot down, you know, way, you know, just anyway. What's in the source code there for the ray tracer is, it one of the first values of it is Earth's radius and how they're going to distribute light rays over that radius using a concentric shell model of the atmosphere, where basically each layer of the shell is a stratified layer, so that way they can get refraction to, like, you know, bend over one side and then arc back down on the other, because there has to be symmetry to it. It's established, like, experimentally, that uh that curvature is symmetrical and stuff, so they have to keep it in line with, like, you know, what it would be or whatever. So here's the thing with the air density, that air density and refractivity is what makes the refractive index, essentially. So there's a proportionality between the refractivity and the air density. And so what that means is they need a specific amount of air molecules in the atmosphere to get that amount of bending over any specific distance, right? So what they have modeled out wise is they take the average temperature from sea level, so that's like 59 degrees Fahrenheit, I think, or 15 Celsius, and then whatever the humidity value is for that. They take those conditions and they establish a linear gradient with a sphere of radius r, you know, the radius of Earth, they say. And taking that, it makes this symmetrical shell layer around the Earth. And they extend that all the way out to 80 kilometers as a linear gradient. And anything that they haven't measured, they interpolate through math. So, in other words, they just calculated out what it should be at these values. So, they have this perfect idealized system that they run it through. And that's what they were using for years prior to 1939. What they did is they watched circumpolar stars and at different latitudes, and they measured their apparent position, and they calculated where their true position should be, and they took the difference of that and said that must be due to refraction, and they backwards derived what the air density, excuse me, for that would be, based on what it would have to be, you know, assuming their correctness of their model with a sphere of radius r. And then in 1939, they took interferometric measurements of the difference in the speed of light in a vacuum versus in air of a specific temperature and pressure, which is similar to to the standard, or to the average sea level conditions, which is that 59 degrees Fahrenheit or 15 degrees Celsius, and whatever the average pressure is for that for sea level. And so taking those measurements, they then use that value of refractivity, because that's essentially establishing how much refraction there is in that amount of air density. And so they took that value of air density and then applied that to their model as a standard. And then so now everything gets realigned to that with the standard. So now they have like an independent measurement of the change in the speed of light to describe a refractivity. They already have their assumed radius. So now they just reestablish their concentric shells. And when they do ray tracing between any arc length, they take the elevation difference and angle difference between the observer and the other end of the angle, and then they basically bisect it over and over and over and over again until it intersects with the observer on the other side and it lines up. So the actual measured values at Pikes Peak, for example, for the temperature and pressure was it comes out to being, or it comes out to adding 1.0 or 1 arc minute and like 20 arc seconds of refraction of actual measured, temperature over pressure, like actual refraction ratio. And then the other 12 or so arc minutes that gets added on to that is due to the geometry of the ray tracer filling in what it has to be over the arc length. That's why when I go over all of the refraction comparisons with the half gamma, uh, that's what their drop over distance should be, and then versus how much refraction they say there is. That's why the refraction amount is always equal to or greater than the arc length, because it's ray tracing the amount over the arc length to compensate for what it would have to be at like a bare minimum. And then the deviations from that baseline that they established in 1939 get added as like a plus or minus to it. So it's the most self-referential and assumptive thing you could do. And they didn't like independently verify the globe or how much refraction there is. They just did the same thing that everyone has done since the 30s, is calculate how much there would have to be based off of their assumptive model. And nothing has changed in that. So the links I provided have the whole history of it. So you can start with the refractive index page, and that'll give you like a nice introductory summary of all the uh, main papers cited regarding the atmospheric modeling and the refractive conditions for the index values. And so it starts off with 1939 for the Barrel and Sears review. That's where they did the interferometric measurement and got the values for how much refractivity there is. So based off of that experiment, the air density values that were put into the equations for the ray tracer were all from that same thing. So we get to 1941, a guy named Willis says, "Hey, you guys have been using an assumptive model based off of the difference in position of stars and just filling in what it has to be. We now have laboratory measurements of refractive indexes. Let's put the math together and see if we can come up with a dynamic way to describe the atmosphere." So Willis and I was talking to Jonathan about this, a couple weeks ago. This is one of the papers I was trying to get him to read, because it starts off with saying like exactly what I just said, and how for the first time they're going to use real world values to try and explain how the atmosphere works on a globe. And so the assumptive things in there, of course, are the globe itself is one of the input parameters. So everything that comes out of it is obviously going to wrap around the globe. And he goes through and establishes the spherical symmetry of Snell's law, so it curves on symmetrically on both sides, all of that. So it just goes through exactly what I was talking about earlier, how it takes the real world value, distributes it over a radius, and then any arc on that radius will basically be curve fit to what the atmosphere has to be. And that's how they turn, 1 arc minute of refraction into the 13, because it gets distributed over the arc of the sphere doing literal ray tracing. So anyway, in 1944, a guy named Garfinkel came by, and he was like, "Hey, I'm going to do a better job at modeling the atmosphere than Willis did, because his model is very static. It's not dynamic. It assumes like all these static parameters essentially, like no, so there can't be any mirages or turbulent or wind or anything crazy, no temperature inversions, nothing to create uh, nothing to describe anything physically, right? This is all conceptual math to describe it." And so Garfinkel was like, "I'm gonna make a better, improved version," but he ultimately did the same thing and assumed even more parameters. And then we have a revised measurement of the 1939 measurement for the refractivity of air. That measurement ends up getting a coefficient added to it that's compatible with the 1939 version. So everything's still compatible with what they assumed originally to set the standard for atmospheric computation. And then 1982, G.G. Bennett steps into the arena, and he's like, nobody can solve your refraction calculations for CellNav using your computational model, Garfinkel. I'm going to come up with a curve fit formula here using polynomials to so that people can solve it with their normal calculator. So basically all you need to do is input an angle, and it will input the correct refractivity amount correction for the angle based on what it would have to be. And so all the G.G. Bennett corrections aren't, they don't have anything to do with any atmospheric stuff in them. The driving factors of it is the polynomial angle corrections. And then you can enter your local temperature and pressure differences and it will affect it by a small amount, but it's not the same as like the actual driving factor of it is the curve fit angle corrections in the formula. So that was his whole premise and how to relate those. And then in 1996, a guy named Sitter made some corrections to the water vapor, so the humidity variable that they would use for the, so instead of dry air to describe the refractivity, there's also the water vapor component that they need. So this guy had an adjustment to the water vapor component that he made compatible through curve fitting to the old 1939 measurement. And basically, if you take his formula and apply it, it's the same as, it gives the same output as the modeling done in 1939, and that's the 1996 version is what Astronomy Live used, but all the variables for the inputs in that are all tied to what was done in 1939. And then even if you run if you run the ray tracer without the coefficient that links the new water vapor difference to the old one, it's still about the same. It comes out 10 arc seconds difference, which isn't in the, it's not that big of a, like, that's not, we don't care about 10 arc seconds. Nobody really does. So nothing has really changed. It's the same conceptual model represented over and over again. And it's, you know, self-references in that way. So it'll be interesting to see, you know, what the response is from the globe lads when they go over that. And then when you go through the source code for the ray tracer itself, you can find all of the WGS84 radius references to it and how it's bisecting the arc length over and over again until it gets the curve fit for what it needs. So it's not like they just put in temperature and pressure and out came the globe. The input was always the globe, and it always has been. Thanks for letting me talk forever. Sorry.
Man, yeah. So basically, if all your inputs are a globe, your outputs are going to be globe.
Yeah, let me see if I can get Heffron in here. Yo, what's up, Stone G? He just hopped on Discord to chat for a bit, but let me see if I can get him in here and we can discuss the findings. I'll be right back.
Yo, hey, yo, hey.
Yeah, it'll be nice to hear from them. Haven't heard from them in a while.
Man, he was following my last account too.
You're a machine, Brian.
Got Lily coming up. Yeah, he was a Globey, man. This changed him to a flat earther. Never seen so much nuh-uh in all my life.
He changed himself into a flat earther. That's really what happened.
I know, it's incredible. What's up, Lily?
Hey, you guys thought you got rid of me forever, huh? But I'm back.
Welcome, welcome, welcome.
I won't take much time because it sounds like it's a good conversation or whatever going on with the flat earth. But I just wanted to say that if you guys ever fire me as the ambassador, I'm going to go back to being a globie. I just wanted to make an official threat. So better not fire me.
Well, we don't want you to be a Globey, so looks like you got a job.
You can forever be the ambassadress of Flat Earth, my dear.
Oh, I'm just joking around.
Yeah, I think you'd actually have to become a globie before we fire you.
That's funny. How's everyone? So glad that I can access space again. I moved recently and now I have Wi-Fi. So I can do spaces again. Woohoo!
Well, it's glad to have you back. We missed you.
Yeah. You can take the mic if you need it. I just want to say a quick hello to everyone while Alan was gone.
Take as long as you want.
Exactly.
Always nice to hear you.
Do we
Yeah,
have
there's
any
3
globies
open
down
mic spots. Don't worry about it.
there? Yeah. I mean, yeah. We got any globies down there? I thought I saw Jonathan in here for a hot second.
So that clown, remember Proxy Party from last week? You know, you
Yeah.
remember him, right? Yeah. Well, I asked him a day or so ago, just sort of a little follow up there. I said, hey, you know, did you do any of the requisite homework? You know, did you watch any of the videos that I recommended that you watch? You know, you want to come back in and tell us what you learned and, you know, maybe take another shot or something there? Thinking like this is the guy who claims he ragdolled us 2 weeks ago. And he responded, ain't nobody got time for that, with a little meme of this white horse flying around in a light, says, no retarded gay shit formed against me shall prosper. And that is the length of his response. Yeah, just a little update on Mr. Proxy there, who ragdolled us. We
Yeah,
will
I
not be
forgot about the
hearing
whole
again from him.
ragdoll thing.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we will
he
not
didn't
be
even
hearing
have
back.
like a basic grasp on science.
He didn't
I
have a
mean, you
basic.
know,
Totally.
He didn't
I
have a
don't know
basic.
much, but I know a lot more than him.
He didn't have a basic grasp of his own model. He's over here defending it. I mean, when you can have that kind of ignorance, no matter what you're told, I mean, you can definitely stay on to it because you don't know if it's right or wrong anyway because you don't know what you believe in.
Yeah, I've got to where I like that. Somebody will come in and start talking trash, and you'll say, okay, so what's the radius of the Earth? Like, you want me to look it up? No, never mind. Don't worry about it.
What difference does it make? What's the circumference? Huh?
Man, slow night. Where are all the globies at? You should have seen them come out of the woodwork this week when I posted that one on the Selenium. I'm sure all you guys here caught that. Holy crap, eh? Where are they? Where are they? They know we meet every Friday night. All they gotta do is check the feed. But I don't see any of them.
Nah,
That's
they don't like to show up.
I actually posted that up here in the NAS stand down there. Your post on that pretty devastating. And there's another video. I think it's I don't know if it's up here in the purple pill. Definitely down there in the or NAS here. Definitely in the purple pill. Showing a video of the eclipse.
What I found most notable in all of these thousands of responses that just lit up my little post was the endless list of subjects that they'd rather talk about than the content of the actual post. It's the epitome of that meme where it's just a shot of the globey going, oh yeah, well, explain the entire rest of the universe. You can't? Haha, stupid flurf. Globies win again. You know what I mean? It's that times 1,000.
Show me your map. Show me the edge of the universe. Earth. It's like, I mean, there is no definitive proof that, I mean, we're living on a ball. I mean, they just told us that in school and we believed it.
So who's this Mr. Ayubi sitting patiently and watching us?
Where? Who?
Going on? It's right there. Got a little mic in his hand. Just
No,
wondering what his story
he's a
is.
flat earther.
Is he?
Yeah.
Well, that's cool
Yeah.
too.
Yeah, he's coming a little more often now. He used to be around before. He's been around a while.
Are you still there? M. Garon?
Maybe he went for dinner.
Where did he say he was at? Iran or something? Or
I forget where he said before where he's
Spain or
at.
something like that? I mean, he said he had to take a last-minute flight out, and then they closed down the airport, so he just got out. So he could
We
be.
did have Jonathan here, but he's gone.
Yeah. He was in here for a hot minute. I don't even know if he said hi.
I know he got a mic, but I never heard him. He might have had to run. He does have like babies. I don't know. They might be a little more grown, but there could be more than toddlers, the youngest.
So Astronomy Live just responded. So I let him know that we'd like to go over his debate there.
It was kind of an avoidance more than it was a debate.
Yeah. Want to debate the celestial theodolite? Yeah. So I got this plane and this hot air balloon. So, haha, it's a globe. And I don't know why he keeps on showing this his SpongeBob the fish tank.
It's just another globy go-to that's totally not in the least analogous to the actual real world situation. Like the lapse rate of an atmosphere is, consider that one order of magnitude. The lapse rate in sugar concentrated water at the bottom of a tank is multiple times that order of magnitude of lapse rate. There's nowhere on Earth that's ever going to actually take place. There just is no comparison there. I don't know why they do it. Well, I know why they do it, because it actually does bend the light, but it's nothing like what's going on Earth. Hey, Kat, you're hot micing.
Dude, if you fill a tank with like 5 gallons of salt, that'll emulate perfectly the atmosphere. I heard.
Yeah, right.
Dude, that's what I was saying when I was how I couldn't. I was like, why does he keep on showing this? I mean, he knows we're supposed to be looking up at the sky, right? At a star.
Well, I understand that we typically look across the horizon at them and stuff too, but you know.
I think he was trying to say that nothing happens geometrically. Everything depends on apparent angles. Look at my double to thrice refracted salt tank. Or maybe I'm missing the end part there. There was probably a globe argument in there somewhere.
All right, I gotta do it. I had to mute you, Kate. Cat.
Very annoying. You perpetually getting in and out of your car.
Scraping something back and forth.
Or peeling some onions or something. I don't know, man.
Did you guys have any globies, or did you already scare them off?
Man, it's been few and far between. We had Fantasticles come in here. What was he arguing for? Oh yeah.
Who's that? I don't think I've ever met that guy.
Is that a real person? I was trying to figure out if you mispronounced Biasticles.
No, it was Fantasticles. He's a globy.
Okay.
But he was arguing that sticks and shadows prove the globe. But he couldn't even really say. Then he couldn't even really do. He's like, got the math, and he's like, "What's the math?" He's like, Well, I really don't know the math.
Yeah,
You can't prove
I don't know how or why, but I know that it proves you're dumb and that we've known it forever and always. That's knowing if I divide my circle by 360 and then take a known arc length, I can make a quoted comparison of the length of a circumference of a circle, if only given the known distance between 2 points. Good thing we have, psychic tree to be able to pace out a Roman pace or Roman foot 800 kilometers or so that we could accurately know the distance between those 2 points so that we can determine the circumference of the Earth or whatever.
Just walked off 500 miles, man. I believe you.
Yeah, how did you guys measure 500 miles with our feet?
With our feet.
Yeah, okay. No, the Romans were
That-
better. They were smarter than that. They paced it out and then did metrics, and then they had like their own units. So that's why they had the stadia. Ended up being the earliest nautical mile metric. You just take
literally
a
a
division
mile.
of your main. Yeah.
Our mile is the stadia. It's the,
Well, that's what makes Eratosthenes cool. They were like, well, depending on how we convert a stadia, we can make his measurement, within 98% of the globe or within 78%, depending on what we're trying to show and what we're trying to argue. The value of the stadia fluctuating can change the accuracy of the story because the story is just the story anyway.
in the steps are like a little over 8,000 steps or something like that. Can you imagine that? That's a hell of a count.
For one stadia?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And then doing that 500 times.
But then we're just saying, hey man, you can get that same result if the sun is closer. And it's like you have to have the sun far away. He's like, so you know what the distance of the sun is? No.
No, they changed it 14 times.
It's like he couldn't get past that. He's like, because we said the sun would have to be further away because you guys need parallel light to come in based upon this shadow test that somehow we knew what the distance to the sun is on a local sun.
Yeah, but that's all based on angular size formula, right? Based on the diameter and the distance, and then based on 0.53 degrees, you can make that work for a 32-mile sun at 3,000 miles, or a 860,000-mile sun at 93,000 miles. The angular distance formula scales either way, and that's how they were manipulating their quote, I think, guesses through our history, like Newton and the other people. They just would change the guess diameter, which would change the distance, while keeping the angular size the same, and go, look, science has progressed as we get closer. It's like, no, you're just messing with two variables and keeping one the same until you get the ratio that works for the rest of the system.
That's right, Shane. But if the Earth was flat, wouldn't you be able to do a test to prove it?
Well, it turns out there are tests to prove it.
But you could get a laser. If the Earth was flat, it would be easy to test it.
It is. I have a test lined up. I just can't find
Oh.
anybody who wants to do it.
I support you there. When are you doing the test, lad?
Anytime we can find a pilot in a capable vehicle with an instrument landing service installed over
Why do you
water
need
on
a
the
pilot?
approach. Well, you have
Well,
to
you
know
would-
about the experiment.
But what you could do is just get two lasers in the same point, in the same elevation, and point them at each other, or get mirrors, because the lasers can go 2,000 kilometers. Do you understand what I'm saying? If the Earth was flat, you could point a laser and it could hit a mirror you put 2,000 kilometers away.
Must be nice to have a burner account like that.
I know.
Right?
Good.
Cash, but he's Indian. It's Cash App as if he was Irish, dude.
I'm
Scottish,
Scottish.
dude.
Yeah, Scottish. Yeah,
Get
right.
your
yeah,
fake
yeah,
accents right.
Right.
But I want to help you, flatties, because you seem to be a bit lost.
Nah. Problem is nobody gives a fuck about laser tests. They did it a bunch of times. Karen B has the FE course
Nobody
stuff where
gives
they
a
did it
fuck
over
about
miles,
laser
over coldness,
tests.
and they said, "Oh, you know what? You didn't take the temperature reading that was going to adjust it by 2.4 arc seconds over a kilometer or whatever." And they did account for it, and they still don't buy it. And then they were like, "Oh no, you actually that beam refracted over the edge of the Earth exactly at the rate that we needed it to make your observation on a globe. So you're all retarded for having."
Okay, but you could use
There is
video
no-
cameras. Listen, you
There's
could
no
use
observation
infrared
that we can
cameras.
make on the surface that people would accept to go, "Oh, you know what? The Earth
Shane,
is flat. You're right."
Shane,
Because they say, "No,
Shane.
you idiot. How much reflection was there? You don't even know what was the observer height. How far away were you? Here's so
Shane,
much refraction that should have been."
You're not
observation
being
on
you're
the
being quite
surface of the
retarded. You
apparent.
could use different
Well,
types
you
of
know,
video.
it's
Listen,
per mile
listen to
squared
what
is
I'm
just a
saying, Shane.
parabolic approximation of the spherical formula, right? But it also works with the
You're
linear
just saying a
progression
bunch of stupid. Just listen to what I'm
So
saying.
you'd
If
never
the
be able
Earth
to
is
discern
flat,
the difference from the surface on
Shane,
either model. That's the whole point,
Shane,
right? That's the whole
listen.
point.
If the Earth is flat, okay, then you could potentially use a different video camera. Oh, he'd mute me. So if the Earth was flat,
No, I
you
think
could
Twitter
use
cut
an
out.
infrared camera.
What do you mean? What do you mean infinitely far?
Dude, that would be so sick. Just pull out the
Because you're
infrared, just
saying
see
it's
forever.
flat, right? So you could potentially see forever. You could see across the whole flat plane.
Yeah, because there's no such thing as opacity of air.
Opacity.
Or weather,
I'm talking
visible
about different
distance, fog,
resolution.
smog,
But
angular
you
resolution, atmospheric opacity, Rayleigh scattering.
are you aware
scattering.
of the different type of cameras they have now?
Yeah.
Which one
So
has
you can
infrared on it?
actually
So,
input the
Cash.
refraction in there. You can input that as a variable.
Cash. All cameras and everything has a resolution limit. You would never be able to fit everything into it forever. That's preposterous. Think
But
about
do you understand that they can have their computers that have different lenses now that can use different telemetry to create the images using more than just the light coming in the lens? Do you guys understand that?
Do you understand the resolution limit?
Yes, but what? So what? How would you test?
So that's it. There's a resolution. We're hard capped. We're never going to see infinity. That's it.
But listen, how would we test the Earth is flat? Because we've got to test it.
There's a couple of ways you could do it. If you had
Okay, give me what you've got.
Okay, I like Man of Stone's method where he uses the angle of descent of a plane coming in and the radar landing system.
How does that prove that
as I'm explaining it to you, are you for real going to interrupt me and say how does that?
No,
work?
but
how does that prove it? Just shut the fuck up, dog.
Yeah, I mean seriously.
No, I'm just asking how does it.
You're just asking as I'm telling you how it proves it. You're in the middle of saying how does it prove it? Like just shut the fuck up. You don't need me to talk.
I know you
can just talk over me. It'd be much easier if you just talked over me. Go ahead.
No, he's he'll be a good boy. Don't come out. Let him finish what he's gonna say, and then you can respond.
Well, I thought I had to talk through him the whole time to get it out, but maybe you'll have a different experience.
All right. So, Man of Stone's method was using the angle of ascent that a plane is coming in to land at and the elevation difference between where that plane would be elevation wise on a globe versus on a flat plane. On a globe, the elevation difference would be higher because the plane, has to account for the elevation of the drop over distance to it. And on a flat plane, the elevation would be lower because there's no drop over distance to it. Now, the landing radar is a unique system because it uses two intersecting beams to tell you where the plane's position is in 3D space. So you know where it is relative to the landing site. And then the elevation, the barometric altimeter reader thing on it and the glide scope are all aligned with the radar gear when it's coming in. So you know its exact angle and elevation for its land. And the elevations never correspond to what the globe predicts. So that would be one way, using mutually exclusive angle of ascent elevations for planes. That's one possible way.
Okay, I see what you're saying, but listen, you could get the drone and the GPS flight along a 40-kilometer straight line at the constant barometric altitude and record the ellipsoid height. Do you know what the ellipsoid height is?
Getting down with the geoid.
Yeah, one
Datum,
second.
I love it.
So you get a drone and then you fly it straight and you can tell if it's curving.
No, that would
Do
be
you know what
self.
it is?
No, that would be self-referential to the geoid itself. What Stone proposed is independent because we have the plane's
Ellipsoid
actual.
height.
Please don't interrupt me as I'm explaining to you why the
You
difference
don't
between
understand
what
what
you
I
just
said.
said. The ellipsoid height. What is that? The orthometric height. The difference between the geoid and the ellipsoid. Is that what you're talking about?
No, I'm talking about the vertical distance from the point in the Earth's surface in reference
Yeah.
to the ellipsoid.
Is that not what the orthometric height is? Am I confused?
I think so.
Well, in any case, that's self-referential to the system itself. The difference between what Stone proposed is the physical instrumentation on the device, or I mean on the plane, tells you the elevation, and the radar system also confirms it.
Okay. So,
Like, in other words, it's two
listen,
factors
Alan,
that can't be self-referenced to
Alan,
where it should be.
listen. If the Earth was flat and you were working towards a large building, what would you see first? The side of the building, the bottom, or the top? If you're walking towards the world's largest mountain and it's across a great distance and you're working towards the horizon, what do you see first?
The top.
The
But
top of the mountain
the top, but
or the bottom?
that drop could be optical though. Like there's no
That's not true, Alan.
Okay.
That's retarded.
Okay. Well, you're just saying that when we have data measured from
Alan, that's
planes.
retarded.
Hey, please don't interrupt me and say that's retarded to reassert it.
No, that's my opinion.
We already have measurements of the plane elevation differences that show that the planes
You're not
don't
responding to my
correspond
question, Alan.
the response is that that's optical. You say it's a physical curve.
Oh, it's optical.
Yes, just us arguing over the appearance of it isn't mutually exclusive. It can't tell us the difference.
No, that's
right?
not true. It's not
Yes,
true.
there's
What do you
nothing-
see?
Dude,
is
if
what
you
you
keep
see
fucking
the top.
interrupting, I'm gonna take your mic.
You
You're
don't like
getting
what I'm saying.
aggravating.
It's not that we don't like what
Talk
you're
in
saying,
your
so we can't
turn.
even get the fucking word out. If you were to start talking and I just immediately started interrupting you, that would be retarded. I would look like a jackass. That's what you're doing
You're
to me.
talking pretty good. No, it's a debate. It's a debate.
You don't
Well, a
debate
debate
people
has a
by
back and
talking
forth.
over them. You fuck, like, that's retarded. Saying it's a debate as an excuse to talk over me isn't a debate. That's two people arguing incoherently.
Eee.
So
So you're saying it's an optical illusion?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's what your answer. Okay.
Well, you don't know it yet, but that's actually your position. Because what
No, it's not.
what we just started with was geometric measurements from a plane showing the elevation difference
No,
between.
I'm talking about it as separate thing now,
Yo, you're
Alan.
doing the thing, brother.
No,
you're doing
you're straw manning.
Yo, stop for a second. Just shut the fuck up and let me get the full thought out before you start shitting everywhere. Okay? What I brought up was mutually exclusive between two independent references to give the elevation of the plane. What you proposed was just optically looking at it. That's literally an apparent angle. That's not a real fucking thing. That's not
No,
that's not
that's not. I'm
shh,
talking.
yo,
Yeah,
that's not
you're saying the wrong.
geometry. Yeah, I'm about done with this, dog. I'm not gonna get talked over in the middle of the fucking sentence.
Go ahead
Well,
if you keep talking.
He's gonna interrupt you one more time, and I'm gonna kick him. So he's gonna make a decision right now whether he wants to be kicked or whether he actually wants to engage in a conversation. So you've been warned. Please continue, because I really want to hear what you got to say.
No, I was just simply talking about the phenomena. If you're working towards a big building, you see the top first, you don't see the whole side of it. If you're working towards a big mountain, you see the tippy top of it, you don't see the big side of it. If the Earth was flat, you'd just come across and you'd see the whole profile of the building.
Nah, that's silly though, because angular resolution limit, right? Human eye is like something 2 argminutes, which is like 0.01 degrees, but whatever the limit is for your lens, your camera, your telescope, it's not infinite. It has a limit with which things can be resolved and distinguished from each other. And when that limit is met, then things become blurry. Things become blurry at a quicker rate from the bottom because the observer is much closer to the bottom limit than the top. Equal angles can compress equally, unequal angles cannot. So you have unequal angle compression from the top down. That's why you get bottom up obstruction with basic perspective. And when you approach a tall building, the inverse is true. You lose it from the top down, which is actually proving Alan's point that it's an optical effect and not physical, unless you're going to argue the top of building curves as you approach them optically or whatever. Oh, is it gone?
Did you drop him, Ken?
Yep. I don't mind somebody that wants to come in and be contrary and say no and blah blah blah. But I mean, to just constantly interrupt. I mean, it's like, what the fuck, dude?
It's like, where do you live? Yeah, but how many sisters do you have? But where'd you go to school last year? But what kind of car do you have? But what did you get on the test last? It's like, dude, you don't care about the answers to any of those questions. You're obviously just asking questions. I think of Jesse when I think that, like, endless questions is a sophistry tactic to just argue out of bad faith. Shifts the burden. It pretends you don't have to explain things. It makes it appear like you're on the back foot. It's such a tactic.
If it seemed like you'd be a troll, from
Oh,
the movie Snatch.
you proposed the geometric measurement? That's stupid. I just want to go with what it looks like.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. Let's see what this new guy has.
Yeah, that's one thing that bothers me. People are like, well, you're not using a theodolite to get an actual measurement when you're doing
Oh,
the
I'm back now.
celestial
You couldn't take
theodolite?
the truth. You couldn't take a simple question to remove me, you little bitch. You little stupid.
No way. You see you back on a
Burn
different
number
level,
two. Number
Harry? No
two.
way. No way. Was that quick? That's amazing.
Yeah,
Hats off.
that's his alternate. I figured
Right.
it was. That's why I didn't give him a mic. But Brian said, "Oh, well, let's see what this guy's got to say." I knew it was going to be him.
You're definitely quick on the draw on that
Solana.
one. That's funny.
Nice.
Swing and a miss, man. Swing and a miss.
Thank you for regulating that. Gee whiz.
I mean, it was ridiculous. I kept on muting him, and he still wouldn't shut up. Back and forth isn't talking over everybody. Come on, it's not a debate.
Yeah, if I don't really care what your answer is, though, if I just want to ask endless questions to give the appearance that you don't have an answer for any of my questions, that's why when you start to answer coherently, I get uncomfortable and I have to shoot another question in the middle of it because I'm not liking that, what you're speaking makes sense to people. And I only asked the question because I thought you didn't have the answer. So sort of thing.
We've all been waiting our turn since kindergarten. I think we can all do that patiently and, let you at least get everything out that you want to say so it's clear.
I mean, we do that, right? When we ask questions, we listen to the answer or whatever.
I see one extra piece of depth in the analysis that I haven't heard yet. It's what's in the back of my head when I hear somebody who is aware that you're making many points in a single, time with the floor, holding the floor. And it's that as soon as they hear something that they object to, they know that if they continue to try to understand the rest of what you say, they'll probably forget their own first rebuttal here by the end of it and completely fail to rebut. So they know subconsciously they can't juggle the two. So they interrupt right away with what they can handle. Do you see that intellectual bar that they set by doing that?
Yeah, they should write it down.
Should. I live in Shouldville.
What's up, Flats?
Not much. I miss the ambassadress. I want to say hi to her. I haven't seen her here in a while.
Oh, I'm sure she'll be back. Don't you
She
worry.
said she'd be back.
All right.
She couldn't handle the last guy, man.
And nobody could.
Yeah, it was pretty sad. But you know, the Globies are few and far in between right now. I figured he might put up some sort of intelligent, but he couldn't just shut up.
Yeah, I think accent was kind of a reach, though. I don't think he's got it.
Oh, he's nowhere near Scottish. If you actually
Clearly
know
it's
the
a
accent, no.
persona or whatever.
He's just some guy who knows somebody who's Scottish.
Yeah.
If it was Scottish, you wouldn't understand a word he said.
Yeah, get gas panic up in here. You can't hardly hear him. I understand what he says. So thick. So did Kosh come back?
Oh, he won't be back tonight.
No, that was Cash you're talking about there, Kim. The other guy that was in earlier, Kosh.
Oh, I thought he was talking about the same thing, same person.
No, it's Kosh. He claims flat Earth, but then he wants to talk about gravity and theoretical physicists, and these guys proved Einstein wrong. I guess he believed in Einstein. I don't know. He's all over the place.
But retweet the space. Tag a Globy.
None of them come in here. Actually, a lot of them use you as an excuse now. They're like, "You guys me blocked one time, so I can never go to another space, and ever I don't have to show myself ever." So there. It's like,
Yeah,
okay.
every time I bring one, in, spurg out. It's typical for Globies, but
I think there's only like 12 Globers like on the internet, and that they all communicate with each other. So once you've destroyed them all, they don't come anymore.
My
You're
theory
like,
was that a lot of them don't come to spaces because you'd figure out they're all the same people.
I think I think Sacred said it right like once way back. That's because you got to do it in real time, and most of what they do is take what we say and copy and paste to like Gemini and Google AI and be like, "Tell me why this is fucking stupid." And the AI like tries to oblige, analyzes their tone, runs psychology, and goes, "Oh, okay, derogatory, subtext. I'll have to attack this argument." And it gives back, "Here's all the reasons why this is stupid," right? And they go, "Ha, stupid flirt." And they'll just copy and paste like those three things with the number and all the format and be like, boom, dumb. And it's like, oh, it's cool. I mean, it's cool to like research stuff on the fly, but to pretend to know the answer to something we just told you about and then to argue condescendingly from that position is wild to me.
Dude, that's the funniest thing ever. You've never heard about it. You did a quick Wikipedia search, and within 3 seconds, you know I'm wrong. That's just
Yeah,
hilarious.
you're gonna already come back to me and you're gonna assume that I haven't already like asked Google for 3 minutes the question that I just posed to you publicly. Like, yeah, like what if, right? What if I already Googled it and I already asked AI and I know the three things that it's gonna list for you to tell me? Like, what do you think about that? Crazy. But dude, it's crazy. Most of the Globers, I think, are just immediately appealing to AI. On Twitter, you can see it because they get lazy about it. They're just like over their shoulder, Grok, tell him why he's stupid. Grok, is Earth flat? No, tell him Earth isn't flat, Grok. And they're like, see, Grok says you're wrong. It's like, wow, that's the laziest appeal to argue I've ever heard.
Hashtag AI cheerleading. That's a whole new spread of memes we need to make, guys. The pictures of the Globies face on cheerleaders dancing next to computer towers, like the big gigantic ones in the warehouses. Can you guys see that?
Oh yeah, yes I can.
Oh
In
my
Scotland, we've got
Oh,
many.
wow, really?
Dude,
Burner
it's really
number
good.
3. Look
This
at
is my
that.
main account. I just making fun of you fucking douchebags. It's okay. I wish you all the best.
Yeah, right.
I really hope you guys. I love you guys. You sweethearts. You're funny, and I wish you the best. Just don't hurt yourself. Go on with the Black Panther Party.
I think you got to
That
do
the
better
best
at
you
making
got?
fun of people. Yeah, like if you
No, that's
like,
all I got. I just like hearing you guys talk. It's hilarious. It's funny.
There you go. We'll hang out in the
How
listening
delightfully
lounge.
condescending.
No,
Yeah.
the Earth's flat. No, that's great. It's 2026. Earth's flat, apparently. The only thing that's happening on Twitter Spaces now are flat earthers and fucking ethno-nationalists, and it's worrying me. And normally you guys are aligned. It's like you believe
Well,
the Earth's flat, you're normally a racist.
I mean, have you heard about the Jews?
Of course, bro. But hating the Jews doesn't make me racist. It makes me a realist. Look at my account, bro. I've been talking about the fucking Jews. That's not racism. It's realism.
Listen, Rob, we're just rooted in facts, bud. So 270.
I know you're rooting in facts, bro. Yeah, do the test, bro. Check it out. Like it's
270,000 tops.
what?
270,000 max. Brian, you want to?
Oh, the Holocaust. Of course, it never happened. If you look at the Holodomor,
No, that's
that's
not
the
what
real
I said.
Holocaust, bro. 60
Did I
million
say that?
Ukrainians, white Russians killed.
Okay, so we're not anti-Semites.
No.
And we're not deniers of anything, and we're so again.
You can't conflate noticing with flat earthing, bro. You just can't. You just cannot conflate those two.
There's a lot of crossover, though. One might say.
No, there isn't, bro.
There's
There is not a lot of crossover.
All of my flat Earth friends are also anti-Semites.
Well, that's just pathetic. Most
Sounds
Americans
like a
are mentally
country
ill.
western song.
It's
all
like
my buddies are all
my friends have sex with animals. That's
no
what
one,
it's saying.
no one would be upset if we weren't goyim, right?
Listen, bro. If you're all in the fight against the Talmudic tribes that are ruling the planet, that's great. But listen, we need to align ourselves. There's more important issues than if the Earth is flat. I believe this conspiracy detracts from the legitimate conspiracies, such as the Earth is controlled by these globalist Talmudic tribes. So you're wasting your time here. You're wasting your effort.
Rob, we've gone through this already 1,000 times with you.
No.
We have, like, we really have. We've already explained to you if there is
no, bro. No. Listen, I'm just here to
curve,
fucking.
then it is what? Like, so what are we?
Bro, I've given up on you guys. I'm just here to troll now.
You've given up on us. I think.
I don't know. That sounded like a real question.
Affected us.
What?
It sounded like a real question you just asked.
Just should I use my Scottish accent?
Like, so, like, well, I fundamentally disagree. Like, all the people that I know about the Jewish problem and are
okay. So
noticing and ask all
everything
the
you
right
know
questions.
that everything you
No,
see and
you're,
you know
you're
is
saying
objective
that
truth, right?
you said there's more important conspiracies, and I'm saying there's not, because all the people who know about this one have also known about all the other ones. So all the
How is
important
flat
ones
Earth the most important conspiracy?
I'm not saying it's the most important. I'm just saying
You just
it's
said
the
that.
foundational one. Well, it's like the
Foundation. Look,
the
listen,
foundation.
let me ask you a question, Shane. Do you think there are any fake conspiracies put out there to detract or to conflate or to, misalign people or to confuse people? Do you think that there are any like false flag or psyop conspiracies?
Sure, aliens.
Oh my fucking god. That's like the one you can objectively prove through math. They found amino acids on an asteroid. Evidence
Okay,
of life on Mars.
Fundamentally disagree with you there, though. I mean,
like, look, if you understand how big the universe is, it's mathematically possible that there is an aliens. Like, do you understand how big the universe is? Oh my god, it's like talking to fucking children.
Birds aren't real. Birds are CIA listening.
That's probably what you think because you're fucking
That's
mentally
a retarded
retarded.
conspiracy, right? That's retarded.
Yeah, but you probably
what
believe
other
that
ones
shit.
Do you believe in dinosaurs, Rob?
Like,
yes, I do believe in dinosaurs.
Right,
Oh my
so like
god.
a T-Rex,
pretty retarded.
like the T-Rex would have to have like a 12-foot schlong, which is like not possible.
Oh my fucking god! Here we go. The dinosaurs aren't real. What's the next smooth brain fucking NPC conspiracy?
Dude, the point is that it like these are all like logical things that we're saying to you, bud. Like a T-Rex.
Dinosaurs? You don't think look?
Stop interrupting, you
look at
fucking
chickens,
moron.
bro. Chickens are dinosaurs. Like crocodiles, alligators.
No,
They're fucking dinosaurs.
For the last time, Rob, a Tyrannosaurus Rex would need to have a 12-foot penis to procreate, which it clearly can't with its little arms. So the idea that a Tyrannosaurus Rex could somehow procreate is insane. And yes, dinosaurs are faker than nuclear weapons.
they smudge their butts together. That's how it
That's
works.
what it
Don't you
was.
know that?
It must have been that.
I heard that they get on their knees and then they crouch and they back up slightly while crouched or something.
Yeah, the problem with the dinosaur story, Rob, is that the anatomy is impossible for reproduction, and like it doesn't take more than like removing yourself from your childhood fantasy for 5 seconds to understand why that is. But again, you claim to be some serious academic down under, but you're not. And we lost him.
You guys have a history, huh? He's been around a while. You guys have had actual conversation with him enough to pinpoint him on positions.
I think he says
That's
he's like
surprising.
I think he's like an engineering student of some sort.
Yeah, I remembered that Rob account. I didn't know the other two because I hadn't been around that much. But yeah, he was in the Aussie Flat Spaces Tuesday mornings or whatnot.
Don't believe in dinosaurs either.
You don't believe in dinosaurs?
Oh, don't you believe in dinosaurs?
Dude, how do you like make fun of something by totally engaging with it in a pretend voice? But like you ask like all your real questions and have like real conversations, but just pretend to be Scottish. Like I'm making fun of you by doing an accent by really just asking dumb questions. It's so weird. It's so weird. What do you think's making? And then he was like, "Oh, I got you. I'm making fun." So it was like, "What? You're making fun of us? What?" But that was confusing. That's not what I thought was going down.
What's up, Mr. X?
Yeah, I love when they go with that. There's more important things to talk about it, but yeah, he just proved why FE is the more foundational one by worrying about aliens and talking about the nukes and the wars that are going on. We're not freaking out about nukes nor aliens because we know that can't exist in a thermodynamics violation area. But I was skimming through the your obsidian there with the refraction loop. Let me know if I got this correct. So the atmospheric formula that they use for the ray tracing computes like a local refractive index, and there's no formula for the Earth radius that's mandatory for the ray tracing. Is that what I'm getting? And if that's the case, that it's circular, and there's no independent validation for it. That's for Alan Shane or whomever.
Yeah. They took apart his Python code. It came out to be like 13% atmospheric refraction factors, which is like 1.73 arc minutes for Pike's Peak, and then the rest of it was spherical adhering radius defying arc matching to specifically the radius. So 87% is spherical geometry reconciling with itself or comparing the model to the model, which ends up being 11.6 arc minutes at Pike's Peak. So of the the 13 minute of correction, 1.73 is because of real conditions like pressure and density or whatever, pressure and height or whatever the variables are, and 87% of it is because we have to match the curve fit for the geodetic model that we're adhering to, and so that was awesome for him to show us that.
So I think you're right, though. I think Alan said that they kind of sprung it out last minute because you guys would have dove into it. So I think it was more of an optics thing. Look, they're not prepared for this type of argument type of thing, which is retarded because I don't think anybody else watches these guys anymore. Victoon, I think we're giving them traffic. So your guys already agree with you. So that was a stupid tactic because, you're going to look into it afterwards. So I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what he thought we were gonna just never look at it, because with that, just surprise, here's this shit that will never hold up under scrutiny and will immediately here's a powdered turd, gotcha. And then you could tell that it was totally his goal because he spent 3 minutes trying to socially shame Alan for not already dissecting his powdered turd on the fly to be able to identify the weakness in his argument. He was like, "Look at my data, how you're wrong. Ooh, you can't answer it. Ooh, you can't answer it." It was so juvenile, especially.
Dude.
After Alan was so respectful, he was like, "Oh, dude, that's so great. That's such a good idea. Unfortunately, you didn't tell me shit and you just gave it out, so I'll have to have time to go look at it." He said it so politely, like he was so interested. And then he said it 2 more times, and then the dude was still trying to shame him. It was ridiculous. It was like, obviously, you had a plan, and Alan diffused that plan, and you had no backup plan, so you just plowed ahead with the plan anyway. That's what that looked like.
Yeah, that was pretty weak. I'm just gonna drop this on you without you knowing anything about it, and I want you to answer me right now.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, cool, data. We love data. Can I see it? Like, it's weird that you waited till right now to give it to me if the mine's been public for 38 weeks or whatever. But that's cool. Can I have your data?" Like, he was so gracious about it, which doesn't work because he was trying to use it as a weapon, right? So. And it turns out when I went through his data, he had all the same data. Like he used his crazy ray tracing data to get a terrestrial refraction prediction of about 2.1 arc minutes for Pikes Peak, which is what we were getting. Turns out, guys, when you use 7/6R and you approximate it into Pikes Peak anyway, you get the exact same answer. You do like 2.4 arc seconds, I think, or something like that over per kilometer. It ends up being 2 arc minutes total, and it's the exact same. So he spent all this time putting this model together to arrive at the same prediction that we got. And then at the end, instead of comparing it to the geometric angle from the mountain to the star, they just compared everything to the observer and went, boom, globe wins. Look at my ray tracing proving the globe. And it didn't even do that. The ray tracing just got the same predictions if you use the actual formulas that we did. So it was crazy. Crazy deceptive. You got people being like, dude, Astronomy Live destroyed it. And it was like, what? He destroyed it by not mentioning it once. And I was like, you want to talk about geometric intersections? He was like, yeah. You want to see my spreadsheet of apparent spots? You want to look at my apparent? You want to talk about geometric? Sure. Do you see my apparent? Look at
Dude,
my
that was
apparent.
funny too. Oh, you're bringing up geometric intersections again. That's what he kept on saying. Oh, geometric. He's like, yeah, something's blocking the freaking light, buddy.
Well, so his whole point was geometric intersections don't matter. Everything is apparent for the globe. Because if you're trying to correct a physical Earth curve with optics, like no one can see this, where you're correcting a calculative assumptive model with refractive in the first place. But like, so if you're doing that, then you're admitting that you live on a geometrically flat globe that's optically curved. It only looks that way, but when it comes down to measuring it, you have to correct as if it's flat every time. That's a weird position to argue from, in my opinion.
Freaking retarded.
They proudly do it. Like if I add the exact amount of astral refraction that the Earth should be curving, and I'm cool with that. A lot of people are in that category.
All the refraction comes back and everything looks flat. Man, that's just amazing refraction.
Yeah, how much is the Earth supposed to curve? Well, that's how much refraction there should be.
Stupid flirt. Don't you know about refraction? Well, what? Refraction don't exist anymore?
Yeah, they're so used to just saying that over everything we say. We lose Alan.
Possibly. I haven't heard him in a bit. I was
Dude,
trying to
yeah.
get Astronomy Live in here. He chimed in on the post that he was tagged in. But he thinks I'm a Nazi, so he's scared.
He probably doesn't want to catch Nazi from you. That makes sense.
It'd be funny because, it'd be like, dude, like everybody in here is a Nazi.
No, I'm
Well, I
here.
don't
What's
want
up?
to catch you either.
You rang?
As I say Nazi, here comes Alan. What's up, man?
Did someone say Schmidt-Off Schmittler? An Austrian dictator. Dude, I was just watching a Norm Macdonald joke the other day on 420 or whatever. And he pulls up Wikipedia. He's like, that's not what mine says. It says there was this Austrian dictator. It's hilarious.
Nice. I think Kat probably was listening and then shamed you to come answer because people were talking about you. Is that what happened? Do I win the prize?
No, I was in the other room. Then I just tuned in to listen. I was also listening to Mike and Piezo on Discord talk about satellites.
Oh, that seems more interesting. Maybe I should undeafen.
Oh, what? So satellites don't exist? I mean, there's something up there. But
Did you guys see
what's that?
You guys see those memes I put out a while back that was like 30 Globers all saying the same thing in Discord servers? Like you just type in like a phrase and you see like 100 usernames at some point all type the same phrase. Like, why can't you see forever where the ships go? And, just Google it and you go straight forever. And go, where's the all the basic things that they just default to after they get 2 or 3 questions answered.
I think that one was the top 7 things globies say or something like that.
Yeah.
And I came up with a whole different list.
Yep. I think I put out that one, and then it didn't. Like, they were like, "What are the questions?" And I was like, "Well, these are pretty good. These are the ones that you see people like automatic response type questions. They just go into auto reply."
Nice. I heard you talking about refraction and how much you need is how much the exact amount is.
Yeah. Well, I was marveling on the fact that people were comfortable with that argument. They were like, "Listen, I live on a geometrically flat globe that is optically curved. So like when I ever have to predict things that need geometric curve, I'm cool with adding it for like calculations and then taking it right back out when I got to use it for practicality. So like, astro refraction, how much curve was there? Yeah, I'm cool with that being the exact amount of refraction that I need
It's
and
like,
having change that up
it's like,
for every observation. I have no problem
no,
with that.
oh no way. The standard real amount of refraction just so happened to fit over the drop over distance of the arc length. Oh no way. Dude, it's
Imagine just arguing from that position. Like, well, listen, I know that whatever it is, it will have to match what I am. So I'll just take whatever arbitrary correction for each independent observation that I need to make it happen. Because I know I'm right. So what's the best part is arctan rise over run works every time. And they get so convoluted and complicated for the globe to arbitrarily pick selective criteria for each observation to make the globe work. And we're just like, nah, man, rise over run works every time. You guys be crazy.
yeah. You ever mistakenly think the curvature of the sky is the curvature of the ground? Oops.
That's how the model is made, man.
Someone was trying to argue about bringing up lat long earlier. Seen that
It's
proof that.
it's pronounced cat long now, I heard.
Yeah, there you go.
What? You don't people who can't separate abstract spherical coordinate systems from the globe, right? That long is just an abstract coordinate system. It's got to be tied to real positions on the earth. So when they're like, "Oh, can you measure longitude lines?" Like, no, nobody can. Those are abstractions. They don't exist on the earth. You can't actually measure them on the earth. They're a facet of the coordinate system, which is why the only way to quote measure them is to calculate them against a ratio. So you have to calculate astronomical latitude based on known distance. And that's how you get them. But that's only a facet of the astronomical coordinate system, right? If you're basing it on distance of the stars, as we started with, then yeah, that's what you come up with. I like when people start talking about maps and they don't know that long is like, celestial, and that there's a direct correlation between terrestrial and celestial coordinates for right ascension and declination and latitude, longitude, and they start talking about it. And if you can't differentiate, the globe Earth from the abstract spherical coordinate system, and most of them can't, then of course you're just gonna say, "Duh, all maps are globe, idiot." 100% wrong.
But it says projection on the map.
Yeah, but if you look at a projector like software, you have orthographic projection as well, which is the globe. It's the orthographic projection, meaning that's the terrestrial projection of the base projection. The base coordinate system is spherical, but it's based on the hemisphere that everyone observes. So it's by definition mathematically completed. For stars you don't see, you complete it with math through the bottom through negative coordinates. So that created abstract coordinate system is equally viable for each system until you can show that the abstract coordinate system needs to have a physical curving Earth, which they do when they try to insert a geodetic datum like WGS 84 through the center of that coordinate system. So it actually does reference real points on Earth, but that is a predetermined ellipsoid model as well, which they apply the same logic to go, quote, measure meridian arcs when they just resort to calculating astronomical latitude again. So go figure. Dude, every time you go to measure curve on the ground, you end up calculating astronomical latitude. The same way as like whenever you go to measure Earth's velocity around the Earth, you always fail to find the ether instead.
We couldn't find the curve, but we found all the astronomical refraction we'd ever need to explain any deviation from our assumed model.
But I actually heard that the machine shrunk and they didn't find any movement at all.
Dude, that's the worst when you go. That's so.
Wait, everyone thought that.
Dude, the old apparatus shrunk. Stone, you've worked in a machine shop before. If somebody had to make something to spec, down to like, micron accuracy or what have you, whatever the limits of standard are, and they happen to be off, did they ever just go like, oh, you know what? I was in a relativistic frame and length changed. Did anyone ever say that? Try and pull that one on you?
I don't think so. And you're right. We actually, there's a use of micrometers. There are micrometer-based tolerances when it comes to order of magnitude of precision. Yeah, there's a lot of that going on in the machine shop. That's for sure. And nobody would claim any kind of relativistic error. Not there.
Dang, no relativistic error in machine
So
shops.
I can't just supply some math for you and tell you that it's good and send you about your way and collect my money, not have to redo it.
I don't know, man.
I don't know, dude. For a good 12 years, everyone was cool with like, listen, the Earth's definitely orbiting the sun, right? But the thing that we went to measure it with that can definitely detect it, because we claim it measures axial rotation, the thing that we're using when we go to measure this particular motion, right? So in the direction of the motion that we know exists, the length and the arm contracts and the matter contracts within it in just the right amount so that the measurement that we know is happening is imperceptible to us in our frame and we can never see it. So we know, this is how we know that we're definitely moving, but we can't measure it. And then Einstein came along in 1905 and was like, guys, it's okay. Actually, gravity isn't a force acting upon the Earth in an elliptical orbit, which totally would have been detected by interferometry. It's actually moving in a linear geodesic, again, not in orbit, because the bending and warping of space-time, a mass attracting mass is pulling you in a linear geodesic. So we're totally safe. That motion, imperceptible by interferometry, everything saved. You're welcome. Right? That's how that went. Anyway.
You're welcome.
Yeah, he was Einstein, the Earth mover, made the Earth move out of math.
We simultaneously predict the speed of light being constant in any direction while simultaneously predicting that it's different and it has a directional bias. That's so crazy. Think about that for a second, lads. They say that it's
Only
constant in all directions, but you can measure rotation and then also weighing, linearizing it, showing that you can in fact down to the nanometer measure velocity linearly. And they're just like, nah, that doesn't exist. Like
they argued hard against Lang, dude. I don't know how. Like, so you put it on a linear interferometer. He had a conveyor belt that was in a line, and they were like, "That's not linear."
Dude,
like,
think about how crazy this is, bro. GPS, they say, works on the constancy of c, and to derive your velocity, they take the Doppler shift and light from you, right? But that doesn't even make any sense because distance, it's a timing interval system. It's derived from real-time timing differences. So in order to create that Doppler shift in the first place, the moving observer measures it c plus or minus v, and the v is their velocity. And so that's exactly what shows up in the timing difference for GPS. So for them to assert that like the Doppler effect is purely a frequency shift and not a wavelength shift as well to create that timing difference is absurd. And I've actually heard that argued that it's constant, but it also produces a relative frequency shift that's only special to you. But it's still constant, but it derives distance based off of timing, guys.
Yep, it's always C plus or minus V, but we'll just call it C constant. Like C is constant forever by everything. Will never be violated except for the times when we violate it with GPS and SegNet corrections and superluminal messaging or whatever. But it's totally constant. And if you see it not being constant, you let me know, and we'll throw you a tensor that'll make that shit constant right away. But you let me know when you see it being not constant, and we'll fix it.
Dude,
But it's
Xavier, are you ready for superluminal DMs, dog?
Bro, I heard it's gonna get crazy. I'm down for it, bro.
Imagine hitting somebody up so fast you violate relativity theory, bro.
Damn, you must have gone 99% the speed of C.
You text them back before they even send their message to you. Like, what the ruck, brother?
Imagine what would happen if Amazon got a hold of that. You'd have like Prime yesterday.
Oh my god, Terminator is real, guys. I had no idea.
Is everyone up here a flat earther?
Well, we got a new guy up here. What is that? Soli?
Yeah, hi everybody. I've been a flat earther for a long time. I just got shut down on TikTok on both of my accounts and I saw this was happening, so now I'm here.
Hey, congrats. Dump that piece of shit platform.
Welcome to the
that
party.
surveillance contraption. That
Give me
CCP money generator. Screw it.
Give me a reason. Yeah, somebody gave me like $100 yesterday. Well, to them it was $100. To me it was like 35. So yeah, I have every reason to not be doing TikTok. I don't need the money. That's not what I'm saying. But it's like there's no benefit to doing it. You just honestly the dumbest people. It's like debate setting for kindergartners. That's really what I call it.
TikTok is an IQ thief.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I have noticed it's the bottom of the barrel. We prefer at least to argue there with people. Discord's pretty good. Twitter's all right.
And I do remember you trying to convince me to go to that platform, Shades.
Listen. It's not as fun to wade through shit unless I can make you wade through shit as well. That's just camaraderie, okay?
It's
Share the pain. Share the pain.
It's a nice place to get a following, but like as far as like intellectual discussion, you're just gonna get asked how sunsets work every time, even though you just explained it to the last 5 people. That's literally the extent of the conversation. You don't get to talk about Hubble tension. You don't get to talk about axis of evil. Nah, you can't. Like they don't permit you to even bring those things up because there's so many day one questions. It's too much,
Dude, If I wanted to hit rock bottom that bad, I'd go with booze and crack.
Yeah, you also
It's
can't say crack.
it's a way better ride.
I almost told you not to say that just now. I was like, wait a minute, brother, you're gonna get silent. But you can say that.
The self-censorship is retarded. Like, I think we tried for like 2 weeks to do TikTok and we all got sick of it because it was terrible.
Yeah. Can you say what the word you were about to say on here? The
Retarded?
word?
I mean, I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah. I can't stop myself now.
Yeah, you can't say that on.
You can also say Jew, which is,
That's
maybe.
good. Yeah, that's
For
really good
now,
because
we'll
you can
see.
say that there. Yeah, there's so many trigger words, and like even if you say them in the context that they allow you to say them, you're still at likelihood of getting shut down. It's pathetic.
Yeah, I already got banned. We tried it. Got banned pretty quick.
I follow you on YouTube, by the way, Shane. You make great content.
Nice, thanks, dude.
Yeah, brother.
Yeah, TikTok didn't last long. I mean, I'm on there now, but I haven't bothered to do anything. I think we got up a little bit. We started to argue with people, but it was, first of all, bottom of the barrel arguments, and then people would just. It was like it was terrible. Plus, we couldn't really show. It was hard to show things, and we're definitely on computers with desktops to show. Wasn't translating to the phone app well.
Yeah, TikTok's interface, it works okay. Like from your cell phone, it works decently. But if you try to use like the TikTok Studio on like a laptop or something, it's not the best.
Yeah, it immediately letterboxes everything or whatever. It's just fine.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably run it through like OBS. I've never tried that. I mean, that might work. But I mean, for all that, dude, just to debate retards, like it's not really, like, you're just doing too much.
We had more fun on Clubhouse than TikTok.
What's Clubhouse?
Some other app where people go and talk about the shape of the Earth.
See, I've been saying to a lot of people on TikTok, like we need to migrate away because I see you guys know Caleb, a lot of you guys, right? Or no? I guess
Yeah,
not.
yeah. I mean, I've heard him. Yeah.
Okay. Well, not necessarily just him, right? But like I see a lot of people on TikTok who I think would thrive better on other platforms because I mean, there's levels to this shit, right? Like you're either explaining sunsets or you're talking about relativity and Michelson-Morley. Like there's places to go where you can have intellectual discussions with people that are more honest. And TikTok's just not that place. I mean, like I said, it's good if you want to have like an audience of like 50 people and not put a lot of effort in, but those 50 people are still not going to give you anything of substance, you know? So I have been trying to reach into like or navigate into like different venues. That's kind of why I'm here. Introductory, you know.
Well, welcome,
Twitter's
sir.
not bad. Yeah, Twitter's not bad. Well, people who talk on Twitter, spaces aren't bad. Twitter, people who don't talk and just post and comment endlessly are probably some of the worst too. But
Yeah, that's everywhere though. That's TikTok too. I don't respond to comments on my videos. I haven't since I started. I started TikTok like a year ago, and
Do you have a YouTube channel or anything?
I just recently started uploading my live streams to YouTube, but it's gonna. I can't imagine that that's gonna bear fruit, and you know what I mean. Like at least not quickly. It would probably take a really long time. I'd have to be consistent, and that's a difficulty in and of itself. So, but yes, the short answer is yes.
Yeah, put some effort into it. It'll grow.
but also cross post on the chance that one day you say Jew twice and get banned immediately or whatever. Because it's not really good to trust all your content to these third party people who will immediately erase you from history at the right pressure.
Yeah, I got both of my accounts just banned like temporarily. It's so easy though. Like honestly, you can because people on TikTok are weird, bro. They'll just sit there and like yeah, to try to explain it is something I don't even know if I can put it into words, bro. It's like they create fake accounts and like you can't really detect it, you know, unless you're constantly checking it, and they'll just spam reports and just eventually something will catch. If you build up like any level of like notoriety in the globe community, you become a target, and it's really hard to like navigate a channel after that. It's nearly impossible.
Man, I wish I knew what you were talking about on that.
I was just gonna say if that damn if that doesn't sound like somebody I know on this platform, dude. It's like, man, is that how it works everywhere? That's crazy.
Yeah, okay, so it doesn't require that much of an explanation. That's good to know.
No, I think it's more that those people behave that way everywhere on every platform. That's just the way that they are. Like, what? You proved me wrong one time? I will fucking ruin your life, destroy your economy, kill your sister, destroy your dog. Like, they're so vicious. It's ridiculous.
It's really bad when you have people that come back and like they'll say something about you and they'll be like, "Do you remember me?" And it's like, "No, actually, where did I meet you?" And they remember everything about you. Like they just know your whole life story. They know what you talked about with them and when you last spoke. And it's like, I don't have any memory of you at all, brother. Like it's weird,
Yeah,
man.
I get that all the time.
Yeah, I don't get those real.
Yeah.
I get those people online. And they're like, "You don't remember when I destroyed you?" And I said a comment one time on a video. It's like, no, I never, probably never even read it. Like, what are you talking about? Who are you?
Yeah, I had a
Well, you
guy the other
remember?
night. Yeah, I had a
What?
guy the other night that said he's like, yeah, last time I came up here, you dropped me and you like, because I was destroying you, and I was like, what were we talking about? And he was like, I brought up that there was pictures of the Earth, and you ran away, and I was like, oh yeah, you got me, bro.
That sounds like me. It's definitely ringing a bell.
There's two things I'm
Bad.
afraid of in this world, and one of them is pictures of Earth from space. So it makes sense that I dumped you and ran away after that. Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, actually, I just fully conceded. I was like, yeah, you're right. I didn't have a retort. I couldn't mine for it, bro. I had nothing.
That's one thing I've never Googled. He caught me completely off guard. That's amazing. How'd you do that?
I know I've been a flat earther for 10 years, and I'm just now discovering that we've had photographic evidence this whole time. It's like I'm dumbfounded.
Have
Yeah,
you
but
ever
nice.
heard of NASA?
Yeah,
What's that?
but
Is that Hebrew?
It's so funny. That always has the default. Like when we talk about elevated concepts at all, they're always like, whenever they get frustrated, they'll always be like, yeah, but what about sunset? Yeah, but you can't tell me about everything in the universe. Yeah, but you can't have this. Like, okay, but if geocentrism, yeah, but if the Earth doesn't move, it's still a sphere, stupid. Or if this paper proves that there is an ether, it's still, they didn't say that it was flat. Einstein didn't mean the words that he said when he said that. He meant that this. It's like, oh,
Albert Michelson was a globe believer. You didn't know that?
yeah.
Dude, Albert Einstein didn't mean what he wrote is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Like, let me tell you
You're
what he
taking that
meant.
quote out of context.
You're quote mining.
Your quote, yes, you're quote mining. Yeah.
I get that one all
Just
the
out
time.
of context. Well, can you actually give me the quote and put it in context then?
Yeah,
No, I can't do
please.
that either. I just know that you're wrong.
Yeah, I just know that you're using it wrong, and that it's a quote mine. I know to say those two things. I don't even know. Like, I don't
Confirmation
have
bias.
context.
Yeah,
I have like
just
60,
confirmation
70
bias.
of those. I use those quotes all the time. So when they're like quote mining, I'm like, how many do you have to have before it's not cherry picking? How many geocentric quotes do you want from mainstream scientists before you understand that the actual position, including relativity, is that you cannot tell the difference and they're both kinematically equivalent? That's all you have to accept.
Yeah.
Like, you don't even want to acknowledge your own position. You want to tell me how dumb I am when all the scientists I keep quoting from your paradigm are showing you how right I am. They're like, you're quote mining. Like, no, that's your position. Just accept it.
Yeah, I have an entire Google Drive folder filled with geocentric quotes. They come up a lot, dude, and nobody takes them. No, but everybody's like, well, they still believed it was a ball. It's like, yeah, that's kind of part of geocentrism. Like constituent part of it, at least in the mainstream.
It's wild that people think heliocentrism is the default when, like, for most of history it was geocentrism, and then Einstein came and gave us some math, and they were like, actually, guys, it's okay. Look at this math. See how geocentrism is equal to heliocentrism, but look, we can move around the sun and have little neat circles instead, and we'll just translate. And they were like, well, it looks kind of dumb. I don't know. That really smart guy said it took that people started accepting it because of the equivalence, and it was built on the equivalence. They only accepted one because it was equivalent to the other. And now, like 2 generations later, nobody even understands that it's equivalent. They're like, no, heliocentrism is better. Let me list 3 relative observations of motion that can tell you neither tell you whether the observer or the object is moving, and I'm going to tell you that they also conclusively prove the motion. Right, like so you can accept relativity, be like parallax, aberration, everything I see tells me I'm moving, idiot. It's like, well, no, if you follow your position, like you actually can't say that if you accept relativity, and we know that you have to think that the Earth moves because we went through how Michelson Morley had to change the definition of gravity through a non-force for their linear geodesic so that troublesome and tricky interferometer would be inexplicably unable to measure it. That's how.
Shane, you know how we used to think there was a little demon inside of a theodolite that bent the light to make it look like a globe?
I said that one time. That wasn't like
the helio. I don't care. I now forever hold on to it as like because it's the funniest thing ever. So anyway, in the same respect, the heliocentric enthusiasts think that the interferometer has a little demon in the mirror that's, preventing the light ray from measuring the velocity of Earth through space.
Well, so I've heard that there's a special Michelson-Morley interferometer that literally works in one axis but not the other. So, like, if you hold it this way, like to the left, right, you can detect axial motion. But if you tilt it to the right, you fail to detect the ether again. And then instead of detecting that orbital velocity, the ether slips right away, and it's crazy. It's like, wait, this thing can detect motion with or without the ether, right? Like, well, yeah. So why didn't it detect the orbital velocity? Well, Again,
Nope.
for 15 years, they had to be like, well, you know what happened was the arm that was in the direction that we were trying to measure contracted physically enough to be imperceptible, and that's how we know that we're moving, and the measurement didn't show that, sure, but it's because it contracted enough to not show us. That's
a grown ass man in the field of science said
That's a
the
real
apparatus
explanation. Yeah.
shrunk.
You know what's crazy too
Did
is
you
the
just say it
amount
shrunk?
the amount of contraction is much smaller than what was actually measured, because they did measure a fringe pattern, right? But it just wasn't to the
Yeah.
magnitude of what was required. But the magnitude of what they measured is actually larger than what length contraction would produce.
That non-physical mathematical thing that has no physical bearing. Yeah.
It's like it's not even a real measurement. It's like mathematically imposed on a measurement as an error, saying that what was measured was just noise and it actually measured nothing.
Right. Right. So it simultaneously was problematic enough where we had to redefine physics and gravity as a force and move from Newtonian to Einsteinian dynamics, but also was a big nothing and only disproved the ether. Both of those things. Like what? I like how they're like, no, if we just take away the ether, it explains how we measured 5 kilometers a second, and it's like, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. You needed to explain it later with length contraction, time dilation, and then you had to redefine physics to explain why that would never be measured. They'd introduce it as an inertial frame and say, actually, we'd never detect that motion, even though the same instrument detects the other motion, the axial rotation. That's the current position. What's crazy is no one will argue that position. No one will be like, no. Like I have a post out for, can someone give me 30 kilometers a second as a first order measurement? And they're like no one is stepping up to be like, you tricky, you know nobody can do that because of relativity. Even Einstein said we could never produce that. No one said that. They go, you idiot, parallax, you idiot, aberration. those aren't measurements. Dude. That's crazy.
Like they use a measurement in air to say that ratio is 30 kilometers a second. But when they add water to it, and it should make the angle bigger, and it doesn't make it bigger, which would imply that the Earth is stationary and the light already comes in with that horizontal bias. So instead of saying that, they're like, oh, well, when we put the water in and the fact that it doesn't change is also proof that we're moving. What
Isn't
the
that amazing?
fuck?
Because the light took a longer path to do the straight line.
Dude, it's crazy. It's crazy out there in the streets.
Invoke relativity for water in a telescope. When water in a telescope defeats your theory, you're kind of like, you should just quit.
Yeah.
Well,
Jordan.
what's crazy is that relativity doesn't really apply to water or like to the water interface of the medium. So the way that they try to shoehorn it in is by saying, which they kind of leave this part out, but they have to make the light accelerate in the water so that the angle doesn't change. So to mathematically make the light accelerate, which means it goes faster than the speed of light in the water, is so egregiously, against their whole paradigm. It's insane. And they just like keep that on the back burner and don't tell anyone.
So you literally have to double think to keep up
Yep.
with these people.
Yeah, it's crazy,
insane.
dude. Yeah, we have the math from a PhD relativist who, explained it to us like we were retarded, and we were like, "You have to make the light accelerate." He was like, "No, I don't." And then he found out he did, and then at the end of his, like, dude, it's so crazy because like the math at the end of his paper is like, if you were to derive what the speed of light is based off of this, it wouldn't be c over n, which is what it should be. It's c times n, which means he goes faster in the light. And he literally knows it, dude. He finally found out, and then is still down to like just pretend like we're retarded.
Wow.
That's the whole game, though, is to pretend we're retarded. That's like literally 90% of their game plan, their strategy when they get here. It's the
I
whole
was
thing.
saying that on my live, like they not only do they strawman our position, right? They strawman our character. You know, they just treat you like you're dumber than them, treat you like you're intellectually inferior. And that's it. And on top of straw manning everything about your position, they straw man your character as well. It's just entirely sophistry. It's so bad.
Yep. It's all a social club, we think, for them. So like they're not really about the truth. They don't care about the questions. They're not listening to your answers. They're just putting an ostensible front forward to give their buddies the impression that they have, the appearance of an argument, which is what we've seen with the Cell Theo. They're like, for like 2 weeks, everyone was cool about the Cell Theo until they realized the implication of the geometric intersection comparison. And then all of a sudden, nobody understood it. Nobody could tell. No one could agree. No. Well, we should twice refract, 3 times refract. That's crazy. And then Astronomy Labs came out with his ray tracing, and they were like, "Oh, you know what? Now it totally works. Look how it proves the globe. The method that didn't work for 36 weeks at all was trash. Now it produces perfect results, even though again they produce all the same results. They're going through the data, and they use fancy ray tracing to come out with the same 7/6 hour approximation of refraction to apply to the geometric intersection that we did. So, whatever."
And 7/6 hours of begging the question fallacy anyway.
Yeah, we're not applying our terrestrial refraction to our non-visible light because the starlight isn't there. But if we wanted to calculate it out anyway, and if we apply it to both predictions equally, it doesn't do anything. But like once you show them that, like once it becomes once you remove it as this unfalsifiable blanket as a variable, they get really uncomfortable because they're like, "Nah, you're wrong. It's refraction. It fixes everything." And you're like, "No, look, refraction at 7/6 hour comes out to 2 arc minutes. If I add that doesn't help you. You're still wrong by 13 arc minutes." They're like, no. What was the temperature though? Like, what was the coefficient that you applied to get that? And it's like, listen, your ray tracing software got the same prediction. Now, all of a sudden, it becomes this unfalsifiable, unknowable position that you can never quite be sure about applying correctly because you must be wrong. It's crazy.
Have you ever asked these guys what they would consider falsifiability of the globe? You get some interesting answers.
Yeah, the one that I like to repeat is that there is no observation that he wouldn't argue enough refraction, and he would literally could see your own ass.
Oh God,
dude, that was the best thing I ever heard in my life. I ain't gonna lie, man.
Yeah,
Tell me that wasn't awesome.
Awful.
He's on my list of favorite Globers still. That was like an honest answer, and that taught me to never argue surface level observations with him, right? So
That was all a great segue into why I asked to speak, if I can be heard.
What's up, Andrew?
Hey, so I've been flaming Astronomy live in the comments, and he obviously knows that something's wrong. Like he knows what he's saying is dishonest because he's taken immense time to reply back, which is hilarious. But the last thing he commented was, "I did not fail to debate the topic. The topic is celestial theodolite. You do not get to force a straw man of the globe to be the topic. I showed that you have to account for refraction at low elevation angles, and I showed that at higher elevation angles and at higher distances where the celestial theodolite falls apart, the globe still works. I did not fail to show up to anything on Monday because I wasn't scheduled to show up to anything on Monday. The second debate on this topic hasn't been scheduled yet, and I am simply waiting for Alan to tell me when he's ready. Go tell your boy to schedule a time with me if that's what he wants. He can say whatever he wants on his own show, but when he comes here and faces me, he will have to deal with the fact that he has been straw manning the globe, and you have to account for refraction to get the actual globe prediction." And the comment before that, the reason why he said I didn't fail to show up to anything on Monday, I wonder if it'll even come up. I just mentioned that there's an open Discord every Monday for the past year, and you could have just come anytime and had open Discord, just an honest conversation on this previous Monday after your debate. If your debate was so solid, why didn't you didn't show up to open Discord? He's like, I don't need to show up to that, I guess.
No, I don't need to show up or know the argument or look into it at all. I don't even look at your database or look at any of the previous streams. I could just kind of wing it and shoot from the hip and just boom, refraction
So
fixes it
so
all.
as of right now, I'm basically ready to debate him, but I asked him a question about his the transponders which give them the elevation of the plane, and he hasn't answered yet. And the last thing I asked him about, which his refraction demonstration for the SpongeBob thing, I asked him for the tech specs of his setup, and he didn't give them to me, and he was basically implying that he was withholding them until the next debate, and if I questioned them during the debate he would like spring them on me like a trap or something. So like I don't know what the fuck this dude's deal is, but the debate should be happening soon. I'm just got one more technical detail to sort out, but basically he shipped the bed, didn't do our method, didn't address the actual thing, came up with a new thing where it's easy to change the numbers to make it whatever you need to be. So it's not, and then he lied about the ray tracing thing.
I
Bro, it's
respect
hilarious
the
because that's exactly what I said. I said he keeps bringing up the SpongeBob example in comments. And I'm like, what was the elevation of the camera in respect to the bottom of the figurine? And what, just like, give me the detail. So he keeps, he keeps, using that as a get out of jail. Like I proved that a light could refract over an object. I'm like, no. How about here's a exact name to a video from 4 months ago that Space Audits held.
You're breaking up pretty bad, Andrew.
Where they had a whole demonstration where they actually show the variables within the experiment that was exactly like your experiment, and irrefutable without any variables shown.
Yeah, well
And
said.
it was, and also, I mean, using the mountain there is actually, testing the geometry of the Earth. An airplane isn't doing that.
Well, so dude, so is it not if
Well,
you need to astro refract the physical geometry, are you not
if
arguing for a geometrically flat globe?
yeah, and technically though, Brian, if we could independently determine the altitude of the plane, like if there was like a special circumstance where the plane was flying through the radar area, like how Stone has his configuration, where we could actually independently verify its altitude and then use an occlusion in that range, that would be something that I wouldn't be opposed to. But using it with the transponder data itself, it's self-referential, so it's always going to be, it's not independent like the same way a mountain is. The mountain can't lie to us. The mountain can only be one of two elevations.
Well, also, how do you get within a second of
You can't. That's exactly it.
timing?
You can't. That's exactly it. You can't. You have to make assumptions, and that's why I said earlier it would be easy to just round it up to the nearest globe. Because if you add plus or minus 200 meters to the distance or the elevation on any of the measurements, it flips it completely the opposite way. So it would be really easy to just be like, oh, this one happened to be the globe. It's like,
I respect that you put Jesse's whole video unmolested up on Space Audits. They can't argue at all after you do that.
Sure, they can do. They could just deny and pretend and strawman, misrepresent,
Yeah, don't underestimate.
mishear, yeah, not understand, pretend to not understand, aggressively question, and then Martin Bailey, and then it's amazing.
Just Dunning-Kruger your heart out.
yeah, I got to
I
put that
think
other dude's Prezi and John's Prezi up as well.
I think you underestimate their ability to fudge it.
Got the old fudge factor there, but I mean, every single thing that they bring up, you guys actually address, and then you bring it back and say, "Here's why it's wrong." It's funny, and just keep on coping and coping and coping.
It's like,
Yeah,
yeah, but I
that's
used a ray
something.
tracer that uses all the assumed variables from 1939 to reify the model that I believe in. Now what?
You want to see me compare WGS84 to WGS84? Boom. It was pretty close, right? You're like, what?
It's
Like,
pretty
what?
close, right? Yeah. Yo, Solips, do you use Discord?
I do have a Discord, yeah, but I'm not in any flat Earth stuff. Like I said, I'm just branching out from TikTok. I was like, I don't know, I never really was into like social media before TikTok, and now like I'm sick of TikTok, bro. So I need a challenge. You know what I mean? Like I don't know everything. You guys, I'm just listening to some of what you guys are saying. You guys are way better than me, but I'm definitely not a dummy. You know what I mean? I know about relativity. I know about MMX. Like I can hang, but yeah, I'd like to do more than just TikTok, bro. Because I'm undervalued there, or I'm underutilized, I guess is the right word.
Yeah. What you could do is come over to our Discord, Ether, discord.gg/Ether Cosmology, hang out with us, and then also we go over to Earth Awakenings all the time, which is more of a neutral platform Discord for Flat Earth and Globe Lads to get together and discuss whatever kind of stuff. So it might be advantageous to go over there and see what kind of stuff they have to offer. Like Shane was saying, there's typically a better quality conversation on that platform than there is on TikTok for sure.
Yeah, I searched Ether Awakening. I'm assuming that's not the like. Can you send me a link directly?
Sure can.
That would be, I'd be, and like to both of those actually, if you don't mind, I'd appreciate that. Because yeah, dude, I mean, I just after tonight, dude, I'm so sick of TikTok. I mean, it's like I had a guy ask me to explain boats. I show him a video of a little paper boat being zoomed in over a 2x4, bottom up, and then zooming out, disappears bottom up. Then he's just like, well, explain a lunar eclipse, and it's like, oh god, like you're not gonna like retort to what I just showed you. You're not gonna like acknowledge that this works on a flat surface. No, you're not gonna do any of that. You're just gonna move on to an observation where you beg the question, assume the sphericity of an object, and assume a shadow that turns red sometimes. Like it's so pathetic the way that these people I don't know. TikTok's just a kindergarten level debate platform. I just got that message, by the way. Thank you.
Yep, no
Well,
worries.
as far as I can tell, to be a Glober, you never admit anything. You're never wrong, and well, no matter what, the flat earther is never right about anything. Most importantly, so you got to work that into your.
Except for the
Yeah,
few
you just have
cases.
to.
Except for the few, yeah, I was gonna say, except for the few cases where they're like, you were right and I was wrong, but I was right to be wrong and you were wrong to be right.
That one time, it was like, listen, it's true that I was indeed factually wrong, but I was right to be wrong because you're dumb or whatever. And I was like, yeah,
Yeah,
that makes sense.
it works on a flat surface, but it's impossible on a flat Earth. You just don't understand science, and I'm still intellectually superior.
Dude, that's
Well,
what
dude,
kills
like,
me the most is when they say it won't work on a flat Earth, and I'm all like, "Can you prove that?"
Yeah,
yeah,
like celestial navigation. I love when they say that doesn't work on a flat Earth. It's like, oh, really? Taking angular measurements of a light in the sky would be impossible on a flat
Can't,
surface? Exactly.
can't do it at a linear rate. It's like, what's this linear rate you speak of? No one even sees that. You do sight reductions assuming per angle how much refraction there should be to make it fit. Like, what is this per degree linear rate mutual thing you think you believe in?
Dude, most of them don't even. I had to explain to somebody how a sextant fucking works after he invoked it the other day. Like, I was like, "Do you hold a sextant horizontally?" And he was like, "No, you hold it vertically." And I was like, "Oh, so you just get the wrong, like, you do it wrong all the time? Like, that's weird." Or maybe I spoke that right. You hold it vertically, and he said, "No, you hold it horizontally." And I was like, "No, no, that's not how that works." But okay.
Got to hold it perpendicular to the horizontal.
I hate
Seems
to
like a
sound
basic
judgmental, but
to me. Yeah.
it makes sense why Jesse lies a lot. If this is bad, but I'm not on Geo's channel, so I can actually say what I think. His voice sounds like an Orthodox Jew, and that would make perfect sense as to why he lies to us disgusting goy.
It would, but again, it's not polite to talk about people when they're not present in
Oh,
that
I got you.
Yeah,
sense.
All right.
So
that
it is
would
a
be
little
really
it is a little
rude.
distasteful.
I did while he was in the chat ask him if he was If he was and said just, I mean, it just sounds like your voice is bent. What is that guy's name? Uh, oh, I'm sorry, lady. Sorry, I was trying to pull in the parking spot. I almost said something. What the heck is that guy's name? Ben Shapiro. I couldn't think of his last name. And he didn't answer. I mean, I asked him directly, but it just, you can't, there's certain, like, I can hear Ebonics. I have no problem with it. I don't have a problem with certain people, but it just sounds like that. Like, it sounds like that's where he grew up. And it is a culture thing to lie to outsiders. Like, it's culturally acceptable.
Maybe. Maybe. But I know that if there was an actual refutation to the geometric argument, people would have presented it by now, and they wouldn't be trying to sneakily make it halfway through about an apparent angle that nobody recorded so that we can twice refract on both ends to get the globe back out of nothing. Like, I wouldn't, like, if that was your position, you should at least say, listen, geometrically, I'm fucked. So if you want to give me refraction at both ends, I'd like to participate in this argument with you. But they don't. They don't approach it that way. They say, you're stupid, you're strawmanning the globe. Of course I need to represent my physical curvature with two refraction models, even though nobody is seeing any light to be refracted. That's the funniest part about
You
this.
guys heard the argument against LoRaWAN? If you guys are familiar with LoRaWAN, like the argument where they claim that it's tropospheric ducting, and dude, it's just so silly. I was having that conversation myself with somebody, and I watched somebody else have the same conversation with someone else, and it's just it's such a it's almost like, I mean, it's begging the question like 10 times over, but it's like it's so silly when you have an understanding of how microwave frequencies work. Like, why would it be ducting? And if you're familiar with what ducting is, like propagation through like a channel in the upper atmosphere. And it's like you believe that over like a line of sight measurement, like of a highly electromagnetic. Like, it's okay.
They'll believe that to the
That's
tune of 10 degrees of refraction, bro. There's this
It's
there's this effect
mind-boggling.
called the Novaya Zemlya effect, and it dates back to like the 1500s when some guy at the 76th latitude in the north observed the sun 4.9 degrees above the horizon when it should have been 4.9 degrees below the geometric horizon for another 2 weeks. So they kind of got like lost at sea, and they were, having a hard time finding their laddie. But then all of a sudden, they sighted the sun 2 weeks earlier than what they should have done, or whatever, right? And so, and then some people were like, all that didn't happen, blah blah blah. But then the effect was observed in the southern hemisphere when the sun was supposed to be 2 point something degrees below the horizon because it was gonna be in the north, and then what was it, like 9 days later it was observed 2.9 degrees above the horizon when it should have been below it. So they just invoke a nice 4 clean degrees of refraction to explain the difference. And it's observed in other scenarios, but in any case, to explain the not even the I'm sorry, to explain the 10-degree observation, they have to make Earth's radius 6 times what it is. So they invoke a Earth radius of 38,000 kilometers
That
to
makes
make
sense.
to ray trace it out, to put the image through the ducting to get it from over the equator to up in the dude's local horizon at 4.9 degrees. Like, they'll believe in literally anything.
Yeah, if there's one thing I've learned talking to these people, it's that the radius value is literally just whatever it needs to be in that moment. Like, it can be it can be over 200,000 miles. It can be whatever you want it to be.
everything.
Yeah, it cracks me up when they want to say you're strawmanning the globe because you won't give me all this refraction that makes everything look flat.
Yeah, it's like, I'll give it to
Yeah.
you, but you giving it to you also removes your initial curvature correction. So just know you're geometrically flattening your own arc, so you therefore cannot claim the Earth is geometrically a ball if your only reference is an optical correction to a geometric one.
Or when you use refraction to explain why we do see like bottom up obstruction and things of that nature, then they claim you're straw manning there too. It's like cherry picking, bro. It's so much of it. It's whatever fits the globe, and that's just whatever appeals to my confirmation bias. Everything else is false. So sad, brother.
That's hilarious when you figure that out. Refraction flattens it out. And then, many weeks ago, but many weeks into it, I was kind of embarrassed. I asked on YouTube, and Alan, you replied and cleared it up like so succinctly in one paragraph. But I had such a confusion in the beginning of Celestial Theodolite. I thought I had a full grasp of everything, and it was exciting. And my thought was that the height of the mountain would create earlier timing, right? And then when I started hearing later timings,
Is it me or is he roboting?
all the
Yeah,
stuff
you're
like conceptual things.
Yeah, you're roboting super
Oh
hard.
man,
yeah, you're roboting pretty good there, buddy.
You're back now, though.
damn
Try
it.
that again. Just
Yeah.
give me your
Sounds like-
last 10 seconds.
Sounds like you cleared up at the end there, yeah.
Let me see. Let me see. I was seeing if I get Wi-Fi. Probably not. But either way, do you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, just give us your last 10 seconds again there.
So I couldn't conceptualize why a higher elevation with no curvature would create a later timing in prediction. And then Alan explained it, and it all came together like a giant puzzle. It was like, oh my God, the stars are wrapping around the ball's physically moving. Obviously, it would occlude way sooner versus having to traverse the entire flat elevation that it's staying at over a flat Earth, where it would perspective would create its occlusion way later. It all just clicked. And the way he described it clicked. And then everything got even more exciting. And then I felt so bad because immediately after, like several comments on YouTube after, and arguments on the next Celestial Theodolite and the one after that and the one after that, it seems like every week since, the Globers have been utilizing that. Like Ruhith came on, I think 1 or 2 weeks after that, and was talking with his chest out. Oh, the mountain's higher with no drop over distance, so you would have an earlier timing and blah blah blah. I'm like, did I create that? Because it's been months and no one said that. And when I asked and Alan succinctly laid it out, now all of a sudden the Globers are using it. So I kind of feel bad if that was my fault.
No, not at all. He's been saying that for a while, because if you make the prediction from the observer-centric position, which would be assuming that there would be a flat baseline to you in the mountain and that the sky isn't already tilted for, half of it for the observer, or, for what they perceive, then you could use the observer-centric prediction. But the reason we go to the mountain is we have to add the arc length back to see what the elevation comparison is, because if it's a globe, then we should be off by the amount that we didn't account for. We should be over the amount by that elevation. We shouldn't be exactly at that same angle. And so, anyway, when you look at it from the observer centric position, you rewind time from the time of occlusion to 2 minutes and 29 seconds, and that puts it at 2:33 for the observer. So one might think, okay, well, it only has to go down like a little bit to intersect with 2:31, but that's not. That's the globe angle to it. That's not where it would be on a flat Earth, like referencing that. So for their prediction, right over that same arc length, like the distance between the peak to the mountain, the star only has to drop half of it angularly. It only has to drop 13 of the 27 arc minutes to intersect with the peak. And so, like you were saying, if it has to do the whole arc length, it's going to take longer, and that's exactly what happens in every single occlusion. It takes the whole arc length plus or minus a little bit of it, and the globe always predicts, being over the peak at the time of occlusion, so that they're literally rounding off how much refraction they say there is to make it match the flat Earth angle exactly, which is crazy. They take our later timing while simultaneously denying that they would have the earlier timing. It's like, how did you get a later timing to like what is your refraction deviating from? It's deviating from the earlier timing.
It just boggles my mind that like it's such a rudimentary, like simple thought experiment that turned into reality. And it took one dude a couple conversations to come up with it. And the fact that he had the entire concept in his head, like off the grip, and he knew it so well he could barely explain it to other people. It took you figuring it out. It's so cool. It's so wild to think that that's how that happened. And it's kind of like Stone too. Like those two remind me of each other. The way Stone just comes up with a concept and drops it, and it's like, hold on, let me hear that 3 times. Oh, okay, I get it now. Why does that click for you so quick?
Many thanks.
It's when you really just, if you can see it, if you can, I don't have the best vocabulary when it comes to science, whatever. I just pause, Google, look up definitions. But but once you understand what you guys are explaining, every time there's like a distinct image of what's going on in reality, and it's always like, oh, the opposite's absolutely impossible. You'd have to be insane to believe.
Yeah.
Well, I think you caught it right at the last word. Believe. I don't do a lot of that. I look at the evidence. I look at the empirical. I take their assertions and plug their own asserted variables into them with the figures they assert, if you know what I mean. And that's where we find out what kind of shit they're talking about. And invariably, it simply doesn't math, if you know what I mean, when you actually catch them at it. Hey, Alan and Shane, I meant to mention in Discord, recently Eric posted a video 3-parter on relativity done at MIT, I think. Did you guys ever watch any of that?
Negative, Ghost Rider.
Yeah, I don't blame you. First part, it's right at I don't know, in the first 10 minutes, he starts to talk about how special relativity is valid because, if he's at one side of the room, picture him on the left side of the room, shooting his laser in his little hand at the right wall, you'd see that light blasting along at 300 kilometers per second. Okay, 300,000, whatever it is. And, but if I run towards the wall at half the speed of light, the speed of what's coming out of my laser is still the same, 300,000 kilometers per second. And nobody batted an eye.
Gross. That's how they get you, man.
I gotta see that actually. I want to hear that in real time. Like, that's so sad.
Yeah, the laws of physics, dude. It's special relativity. It's a special pleading that the laws of physics are just different when you go faster.
Yeah, if you drop a ball from a moving trolley and the ground is in a state of inertia, like, it's all a begging the question reification fallacy from start to finish,
it was funny because he actually threw in the caveat. He said, well, the energy coming out of my laser would be viewed as a higher energy. It would be a higher frequency because of my accelerated velocity, but it would still
Yep.
be coming out at that
But it would,
speed.
yeah, dude. Dude, that's exactly what a gentleman said to me about the GPS timing interval situation with Doppler shift. I'm like, how is there a frequency shift but no wavelength change? Aren't they inversely proportional? He's like, yeah. He said, yeah, but it's constant. What?
Oh, I see.
Dude. And I didn't know enough at the time to like, call that one out. But like now that
So we're
I'm,
not spinning
dude.
around in orbit. It's constant. Is that what you're saying?
Oh man, they're such pranksters, bro. But anyway, guys, I'm gonna hop off here. Hopefully, Astronomy Live and I will be able to re-up on the debate here soon. I'll see if I can get that transponder thing hammered out. But if not, tune in on Sunday for Globebusters. We're gonna be doing a breakdown of central angle theorem for flat Earth and the significance of all this in relation to celestial theodolite. And we're definitely going to be covering over the ray tracing, the refraction, the source code. We'll be going more into depth on it, and we'll be showing you how to find that information on the Obsidian page as well, so you can read over it. I highly recommend, like if you're into the subject, highly recommend reading over those summaries because it's mandatory, useful information that will it's literally the backbone of the globe. So uh tune into that for Sunday, and then we'll of course be live on Monday for the celestial theodolite update number 40, I think, actually. So number 40, and we'll be going over the same thing. And probably Ruhif, he had a PDF. I'd put out 15 questions a couple episodes ago, and he put out a answer PDF to that. So he had a couple contentions or whatever, but I think it'll be cool to talk to him about those contentions live. So we'll see if we can set that up for Monday. And then Dr. Mike also had something he wanted to present. We got some new stars to go over that our Canadian Goose has added. So we got new Celtheo data and all kinds of new stuff. So all that, and then we'll be back on Tuesday for Ether Roundtable. Probably be doing a reading night. So see you guys then.
Well,
Nice to meet you.
appreciate you for coming on in, man.
All right, lads and ladettes, we're gonna head off for the evening. You guys have a good one. If you would like to participate in the conversation over there on the Twitter sphere, or Twitter plane as they call it, here's the link to that. Let's see what the lads are up to. See you guys on